What's up, guys? This is me sitting in my backyard doing this video. My phone is almost dead. I'm like 20% uploading videos to YouTube, all that stuff. It takes a lot of juice. So anyway, we're gonna rush through this pretty quick. I am going to go ahead and put the answers down below. I'll probably do it on Thursday, right? Today is Wednesday. This video will upload Wednesday. You'll get the answers on Thursday. You'll review it. Hopefully you're reviewing and not just writing stuff down. Children. All right. But go ahead and have this out. We'll go over it real quick. Don't forget that last part, that part 2, about sugar and the lollipop wars. All of that is going to be just for extra credit. Okay. Extra credit. If you have questions about that, shoot me a message. We'll deal with that as the time comes. But right now we're looking at comparative advantage, and we're going to be looking at wheat and sugar. Okay. Now here's something. It's key. It's key. Understand this. Comparative advantage and absolute advantage, two different things, very similar, but you need to make sure you understand this, right? Comparative advantage, that compares how efficient a single company is in making one product over another. Okay. Comparative advantage is when one company or one group or individual, right, compares the advantage of making one thing over another, right? So when Taco Bell compares how efficient they are at making burritos versus making lasagna, okay? Taco Bell has been like, you know what? We're much more efficient at making burritos than we are lasagna. That's why we're not like some Italian Taco Bell where you can have both, okay? Comparative advantage happens in one company, and they're looking at what they can make. Absolute advantage happens in an entire marketplace, right? That's comparing the ability of an individual or group to carry out an activity more efficiently than another individual or group. Okay, so maybe absolute advantage is talking about Ford making trucks versus Mazda, who doesn't make trucks. Okay, now of course Ford and Mazda, they kind of have this thing going on where they share, and don't worry about that. Okay, but absolute advantage happens between companies. Okay, comparative advantage happens within a company, and of course the goal is to make things more efficient and as cheaply as possible to make a profit. Make sure you understand that. So go into it says page 11, right? But it's where we're looking at wheat and sugar comparative advantage. It shows us Mexico and the United States. Hopefully you watched the AC/DC video about this, where he's drawing all over the board and stuff, because there's a little bit of math in here. It's super easy math. It's the math that Mr. Anderson can do, right? It's not the math that Miss Wickenden does, or Miss Moore, or whoever else it may be, right? This is super easy math. It's math for people like me. Okay, and so all we're looking at here is Mexico and the United States, and how much wheat they can make and how much sugar they can make. Okay, so when we're looking at this, right, Mexico, they're basically going to be equal, right? 5 sugar or 5 wheat. You could go either way, right? So in Mexico, it's going to be 1 wheat to 1 sugar. That's what the ratio is. In the United States, it's a little bit different, right? Because the requirements, think back to our factors of production, right? Specifically think about like labor and capital and land, right? Those natural resources, because wheat grows in a different, what's the word I'm looking for? A different area, a different climate than sugar, okay? So think about that. The United States is far more conducive to wheat than we are to sugar. And so the United States, for every sugar we make, we can make 5 wheats, right? So that's what that ratio ends up being, 5/1, wheat over sugar. And so the United States, we have that advantage, right? We have that absolute advantage over Mexico, right? So looking at absolute advantage, number 1, who has the absolute advantage in wheat production? That's the United States. Who has the absolute advantage in sugar production? That's going to be Mexico. And all this goes into opportunity cost, right? All that stuff we talked about a while back, the factors of production, all that stuff that we talked about a while back, it all goes back into this. And that's something to remember. Y'all know this stuff. Now we're just putting it into practice when we're looking at international economics. right? Why the United States is known, or has been known for a long time, as the breadbasket of the world, because we have an absolute advantage in making wheat, right? Bread is made out of wheat. Okay. Now there's places in Russia and places like that where you can go and grow wheat as well, but not as well as the United States, because we've invested so much in the capital, both human and physical capital, that goes into this, right? And so U.S. has an absolute advantage in wheat production, while Mexico has an absolute advantage in sugar production. All right. Now you may be saying, Mr. Anderson, the United States could make more sugar than Mexico. That's right, we could, but we don't want to. Why not? Because if we put all of our effort and productivity into making sugar, we would lose out on all the wheat that we can make. And we can make a lot more money out of wheat, right? And so we're going to put our money in wheat. Even though we could make more sugar than Mexico, we can make more money off of wheat, because that's where our advantage is. Okay, we'll let Mexico deal with the sugar. We'll specialize in wheat. Okay, so what's the opportunity cost if the United States wants to make sugar instead of wheat, right? What's the opportunity cost for the U.S. of producing wheat in terms of producing sugar? So in order to make wheat, we're giving up 10 million metric tons of sugar. That's a lot of sugar. Okay. Number two, what's the opportunity cost for the U.S. Of producing sugar in terms of producing wheat? 50 million metric tons of wheat, right? So if we make sugar, we're giving up a lot more than if we make wheat, right? If we are making wheat, we're giving up less. If we're making sugar, we're giving up more, right? And of course, we want to figure out how to give up less so that we can make more money. That's the goal of economics, okay? It's like, we'll leave that. Number three, what's the opportunity cost for Mexico of producing wheat in terms of producing sugar, right? So if they make sugar instead of wheat, they're giving up 5 metric tons of wheat, right? And then of course, what's the opportunity cost of making wheat instead of sugar? 5 metric tons of sugar, right? So no matter what they give up, it's going to be about equal. Who has the comparative advantage in wheat production? That's going to be the U.S. What about sugar production? That's going to be Mexico, right? Simple. All right, so from our results, the U.S. specializes in the production of wheat and therefore imports sugar from Mexico. Mexico should specialize in the production of sugar and therefore import wheat from the United States, right? Pretty simple how all that good stuff works. Hopefully you went back and you did the cars and coffee as well. Again, if all you have to do is kind of look at that map of where coffee beans are grown best and just think about it, right? It goes back into those factors of production, okay? Those countries are going to be far better at producing coffee than the United States would be. They've got the land aspect of it. They've got the climate. It's a low-skill job, and because their education system is generally lower than the United States, it's a job that a lot of people can do there without extra training. And so it's a less of an investment in human capital as well, okay? They've got the land again, they've got the labor, they've got the capital, they have everything they need. That's why they focus on that. Whereas automobile production, you've got to be able to import stuff. You have to have the infrastructure, the railroads, the highways, the shipping containers, the ports, the airways, the factories, right? It's much more of an industrialized process. And the United States is a more industrialized country than a lot of those countries that make coffee. And so that explains why the U.S. focuses on cars, right? Because, think about this. This goes down to number 3. Explain the absolute advantage that both the U.S. and Colombia possess. Colombia, right? How does efficiency contribute to this? This is mind-blowing, right? In the U.S., they could choose to produce 3 million cars. 3 million cars, that's a lot of cars. Or 3,000 tons of coffee. Right? So in the United States, when you break that down, that's 1 car or 2 pounds of coffee. Where's your profit going to be? It's definitely going to be in cars, right? Because you're going to make $10,000 off of selling a car. Whereas if you sell coffee, 2 pounds of coffee, you might make $8, right? Advantage US. That's why the US makes cars and not coffee, right? Now, if you look at Colombia, right? Colombia makes some cars, 100,000 cars, not small, but not 3 million, okay? Or they can make 700,000 tons of coffee, right? And so what they're having to look at is, are we going to make one car, or are we going to make 7 tons of coffee, right? And so we can see why Colombia would be like, forget cars, we can make coffee, and we can make a lot of money off of coffee, and we'll just buy cars from the United States, right? All this goes back to that opportunity cost, doing this instead of doing this, right? And so the United States, because of the advantage they have in industry, right? The capital, the factories, right? The human capital, the intelligence and the car design and all that stuff that goes into it, the engineering, okay? All the benefits that the United States has leads it to making cars. All the benefits that Colombia has lead it to make coffee. And this is why we end up with this global society where all these countries do business with each other, because people in the United States, we love coffee. Not me, other people do, right? They love coffee. People in Colombia, they like to drive cars. And so we'll trade you coffee for cars. Not straight up, of course, but the money that we make off of coffee, we'll buy cars. The money we make off of cars, we'll buy coffee, right? And so this is all just kind of this global system of buying and selling, and absolute advantage of, I can make more money doing this, so I'm going to do this instead of doing this, right? Hopefully it makes sense. Again, I'll upload the actual answers to the documents on Thursday. If you have questions, hit me up. Lots of fun. Hopefully you're all doing well. Miss you. Even you, Josh Wilson. Even you. Anyway, hopefully you'll have a great day. Talk to y'all later. Bye.